Um, I missed you guys. I don't know if you missed me or not, but I went to Orlando and then flew to Germany, and I was all over the country there, and then England, and it's been a whirlwind, and I've noticed that I'm not getting any younger. You know what I mean? I used to be able to have a lot of energy for stuff like that, but jet lag has been bothering me since last night. Like I woke up this morning feeling fine for the first time since I left. So, but anyways, it was a good trip, and I want to give you just a little bit of a recap about that, and then we'll get into the message today. So I went on this missions trip, and I went by myself. I had a couple of buddies that were going to go with me, and then they backed out, so I had to go by myself. But it was great. So I went to 2 weekends ago. I was in Orlando, and I spoke 4 times, I think. I spoke at a recovery meeting Saturday night, and then 2 times on Sunday morning at a church, and then at another recovery place on Sunday night. And then late Sunday night, I got on a plane for Germany, and I just flew all night. And then I got to be with, I want to show you some of these. Go to this next slide. So this is Paul Sudbrock. He's a missionary. Him and his wife and their family have been in Germany for the last 33 years, something like that, and just amazing. And they're in Wittenberg. So if you know anything about the Reformation, that happened. Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses to the door, the Castle Church in Wittenberg, and that's where he's at. And so they've been there for all this time. It was great. I got to stay at his house and just connect with them and be an encouragement to them. And then I rented a car and I drove to Frankfurt. Now, that was cool because I got to drive on the Autobahn. Yeah, that was all. Like, there's no speed limit on the Autobahn, but it didn't matter because my rental car would only go 115 miles an hour. They actually went 188 kilometers, and I was like, I don't know what that is, so I had to look it up. And but I had it floored, you know. And but I tried getting in the fast lane. I had it floored, and there's cars that go 200 miles an hour, so I had to get back over in my lane. So. Next time I go, I'm renting a Ferrari. That's what I'm saying, like something, Lamborghini. But that was great. Germany, the food's amazing, and the roads are pristine, not a pothole in the whole country. And something about Germany, they take the people's tithe. They automatically deduct it from their taxes. So you can opt out of that, but a lot of people don't realize that their money. So I'm just saying, like I've got a call into Donald Trump. We're going to see if we can make that happen here in America. You know what I mean? So, Germany's just a different country. Go to the next slide. This is Keith Gandy. I got to be at his church. I spoke to his youth group while I was there on Friday night, and that was great. Because most people in Germany understand English, but all of the young people really speak fluent English, so that was good. And Keith is a great guy. Him and his wife moved to Germany 44 years ago, and they'll spend the rest of their lives. And Paul Sudbrock, the last guy, they're going to spend the rest of their life in Germany too. And that's why when I tell you these people are heroes to me, they've moved there and they fell in love with the German people, and they're like, these are my people. I will die here. And something about him that I want you to know, Keith I think he's 68, but 10 years ago he had a stroke, and they took him to the hospital. They didn't think he was going to make it. He was in a coma for 4 days, and they were telling his wife, there's no brain activity. Like he's basically dead. Like, we're just going to pull the plug. And they pulled the plug, and he held on, and came out of the coma and was in the hospital for 6 weeks. And the doctors telling him, they said, listen, you're never going to walk again. You're never going to be able to really speak again normally. You got about half of your brain activity. They said, so just be prepared for that. And he was like, well, I don't care what you guys say. So he just had positive, he would pray about it and had a positive mindset. And so 6 weeks in the hospital, a few weeks before he was going to get out, one of the doctors came to him and said, you're going to be getting out soon. He was like, so what do you like? What's a goal that you have in life? Like what do you see? What's a goal? And he goes, I have a goal. He goes, I want to play golf one time in my life. He goes, I want to play golf. And the doctor said, you will never play golf. He goes, you can barely walk. He's like, you're never going to be able to play golf. So while he was still in there, he was getting ready to get out in a few days, so he went online and he found a golf tournament that started the next day after he got out. He entered into that golf tournament. When he got out of the hospital, he played in that golf tournament and won the trophy. He won first place in that golf tournament. I'm just telling you, that was super, man, it's incredible. God is in the miracle working business. So from there, I got on a plane. I went to London. You can go to the next slide. I forgot to tell you guys, pull up the Dropbox, just like the regular Dropbox. There's one picture in there of me preaching at the church, and see if you can pull that up. But this is Justin Rose. Justin Rose is a Kansas City kid. He grew up in Lee Summit. His dad and mom were missionaries to El Salvador. He's been here. A lot of you guys know him. But he grew up here, went to school in Lee Summit, and then God called him to London about 10 years ago, and he met his wife there, and they got married. Now they got 2 kids. This picture is probably a few years old, and he represents Bass Pro and the Kansas City Chiefs everywhere he goes. So there's his church is amazing. Like they had 200 people, like 214 people at their church. They're just packing it out every Sunday. While most churches, literally 99% of the churches in England are dying. Many of them have like 4 people and are about to close the doors, and his church is just busting at the seams. Why? You know why? Because he's preaching the gospel every week, and he's leading people to Christ, and he's discipling them, and God is doing an incredible work. And I got to preach there last Sunday. It was awesome. Some of them didn't get my humor. It's not that they didn't get my humor. They're still a little salty about that Revolutionary War. You know what I mean? Like I tried to stay away from that, but I told them. I told this joke. I was like, hey, I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And I was like, Justin is. None of you guys like the Chiefs. And they were like, no, we don't care about American football. I was like, I bet you guys like soccer, huh? They go, yeah, we love soccer. I was like, matter of fact, I said, England is based in Kansas City. And they started cheering. They were like, yeah. And I go, and in my town, nobody cares. I was like, nobody likes soccer. Nobody wants you here. Like, we don't care about soccer. Anyways, I just thought it was funny. But he's doing an amazing job. And I'm just going to tell you, Justin needs help. Like, he's over there, and he needs help. If anybody wants to go to London and do an internship there, or you want to move there, he can definitely use your help, because you kind of want to get in on what God's doing. And then from there, I preached there Sunday morning, and then Sunday. Did you find that other picture? It won't put, okay. You can't drag it into it? Okay, that's all right. It's all good. So we'll go to the next slide. So I preached at his church, and then as soon as we were done, we got in his car and drove like 3.5 hours up north England to his church. The guy in the middle is Kevin Pine. We were in Bible college together, and he's a good dude. He's also at the Baptist Bible College there in Telford, and so it's his church is more of a rural church out in the country, and it's beautiful out there. We got to go see some castles and some different things, but God's doing incredible work there. So let me just tell you, why did I go on this trip? Man, I went on this trip for a few different reasons. One is I wanted to connect with these missionaries. I don't know what that is. I think that's the picture, but it's just blown up. Anyways, you don't have to worry about it. You can go on my Facebook and see all the pictures, but I wanted to go and connect with these missionaries. Sometimes these missionaries get out there and they're on an island, and they might keep up with people on Facebook, but man, it gets discouraging. Especially, not everybody. Keith Gandy's church is blowing up, and Justin Rose's church is blowing up, but not everyone's church is blowing up like that, and sometimes it can get discouraging. So I just wanted to go and be an encouragement to them. I also wanted to go and share the gospel there, and I got to do that in Germany and in England and in Orlando. And I wanted to raise awareness about the need for missions. I'm just telling you, I 2 years ago went to Botswana, and I came back, and I was like, well, God's not calling me to Botswana, but God needs to call somebody to Botswana because Steve and Pam Workman are 70-something years old. They've been there their whole life. They're going to live the rest of their life there, and somebody needs to go and say, I'll take the mantle from you, and I will be the next missionary, and build on what they've already built there. Right? And same thing in London, same thing in England and in Germany. just wherever I go, I want to call people. I want to challenge people to surrender their lives to missions. If you're young, if you're my age, it doesn't matter if you're retired. Listen, if you're retired, you got more time. Like I'm just telling you, the best thing you could ever do with your life is work and retire and go, now what, God? And God's like, let's go to London and help Justin Rhodes for the rest of your life, or for 5 years, or for 1 year, whatever. That would be amazing. That would be incredible. The best investment that you can make with your life. So I really want to challenge people to consider missions. And here's what, this is the last thing I'll say about this. Everyone in this room, if you're a Christian, you have to be involved in missions. Now, you may not be willing to go. You should be willing to go. You should raise your hand. You should pray to God and say, God, if you want me to go, I'll go. But if the odds are God's not, like I prayed that prayer and God said, no, I want you to stay here in Independence and continue the work that we started. But that doesn't mean that I don't get involved in missions. So we have a missions trip coming up to New York next month. We still have some spots available for that if anybody wants to go. You should be involved in missions, right? So either go, or if you're not going to go on a short-term missions trip. If you're not going to do that, give and pray, right? On the offering envelope and online, there's a spot to give for your tithe, and there's also a spot for missions. I'm big on that. Like we try to give as much as we can to missions, because 100% of that money, like when you give to Grace Church, if you give like $100 for missions, our church doesn't take 10% of that. I don't take any of that. We send 100% of that to the missionaries, and all of that, and the money that we send through the missions office, 100% of that goes to them. So I'm just telling you, it's a worthwhile investment. It's the best thing you can do with your life and with your money. All right, so it's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you guys. And so hopefully I appreciate our staff and our team. Set up a nice spread out there, and we got these little nice pins with tools on there to give to you guys. So I thought about that, and I saw this video a few weeks ago, and I downloaded it, and I wanted to show it to you. This is like a typical day in the life of a dad. Kill these lights. Kill these lights.
Replace that light bulb in the kitchen?
What does it look like I'm doing?
All right, so when we show a video, I need you to hit the blackout button on these lights right here. Try it real quick. There you go. All right, now you can turn it back on. All right, so there we go. All right, so you can turn the house lights back up. They need to see, because I'm expecting you guys to write stuff down, take notes, right? So I can relate to the video. And most guys, I'll get started on a project. I'm like, I got to change this light bulb, and then I'll notice something else. And I got 15 things, going on at once. But let's get into this in Psalm 127. And my voice is, I don't know what happened. As soon as I got back, I got a cold or something, and it just kind of knocked me out. My voice is jacked up. But Psalm 127, okay? Just talking about dads. I want to be an encouragement to dads today. I really don't want to do this where, usually Mother's Day we say, hey, moms, we encourage you, and then the dads, you guys are a piece of crap, you need to get it together. I don't want that to be the case, but there is a vacuum. To be honest, in our society, moms and dads are checked out. You may be doing a good job of raising your kids, paying the bills, and sending them to school, but it's so much more than that. Like teaching them about Jesus and teaching them how to follow Jesus is the most important part of your job as a parent. So we're going to talk about that today. So Psalm 127, here's what it says. And by the way, we're done with the book of Acts. I got a few things that we're going to do in the interim, like today, and then we're going to start the book of Romans sometime in the near future. And I don't know if you're ready for the book of Romans. I don't know if I'm ready for the book of Romans. It's pretty heavy. We're really going to get into it, all right? So here we go. Psalm 127, verse 1. Unless the Lord builds the house, the work of the builders is wasted, or some versions say it is in vain. It says, unless the Lord protects the city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to his loved ones. So just one thing, I want to go back to verse 1 where it says, unless the Lord builds the house, the work of the builders is wasted. Again, all of that you're doing, you got to make sure. I know every parent in here, I know you guys. You want to be a good dad. You want to be a good mom. But it's hard and it's struggles. And we're all struggling to pay the bills. And, everything that's going on in our world, we're kind of just trying to keep up with it. But again, unless the Lord is building your house, unless you're teaching your kids to walk with Jesus, you're missing out on the most important thing. And I look at it like this. Most people, and I stand by this, most Christians that I know are living their lives and they're building their lives on the wrong foundation. And they're living their lives, they're giving their lives to the wrong things. And they're going to get to the end of their life, they're going to get to their kids grow up, and their kids don't want anything to do with church, their kids don't want anything to do with God. Sometimes their kids don't want anything to do with them. And that's sad. And I'm not blaming the parents. I'm just saying, we have to do the very best we can to show them what a relationship with Jesus looks like and model that for them. So let's go on. Verse 3, I love this verse. It says, children are a gift from the Lord. Amen? It doesn't always feel like that. They don't feel like, God, are you punishing me? What did I do? What did I do so wrong that you gave me these kids? But it says children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. So I want to just drill down on this just for a second. You need to know kids are a blessing. I hope you believe that, but not everyone in our society believes that. And I can prove it. There's people, I have 5 kids, and there's people who, when they hear that, they just scoff at that. Why would you have so many kids? One of my best friends, Danny Crawford's got 11 kids. I don't know what they're thinking, you know what I mean? But like in different countries, Germany and England, England's just a different country altogether. When you put they come and pick your trash up once a month, and they will look through it, and if they find any recyclables, they just leave it and go until you fix this. So they want to come pick. They expect a little bag. They want you to compost all of your food. Anything, they want you to just compost it and recycle everything. And then the missionary was like, we put out a small little Walmart sack about once a month. Everything else gets, and I'm like, good for you guys. America, we're just like, don't tell me what to do. Ron Taylor, when he moved to New York about 15 years ago, the very first Sunday, he put his trash out, and they didn't take it, and they gave him a $250 fine because he had some plastic bottles in there. And they're like, you got to recycle that. And I'm like, man, I thought this was America. You can't do that in Missouri. You show up with an AR-15 wanting to talk to somebody. But I'm just saying, but children are a gift from the Lord. They're not an inconvenience. This is why in our country, in America, the greatest country on earth, in America, we kill 1 million babies every single year. How? You know why? Because people go, I want to have sex with whoever I want to have sex with, and I don't want there to be any consequences. And if this girl gets pregnant, we just go to Planned Parenthood and we kill the baby. That's what we do, because I don't want this baby inconveniencing my life. And I'm like, whoever does that, you have been sold a bill of goods. Satan has blinded you and has convinced you that children are not precious in the sight of God. And they're precious in the sight of God. They should be precious in your sight too. And I've done a complete 180 on this. When I first started going to church, I was like, what's the big deal about abortion? Because I wasn't raised in church, and I thought it was a good idea, And then I was like, oh, we're freaking killing babies is what we're doing. Because out of convenience, because we don't want these kids to slow me down in my life. And I'm like, no, that's not God. So I've tried to have God's perspective about it. Now I look at kids as a blessing. In our church, we have tons of kids. Just look around. We got youth in here. There's little kids in here. And we want that. Our church doesn't just tolerate kids. We celebrate them. And we champion them. We got kids running all over. There's so many churches. I talk about this all the time. There's so many churches that are dying that don't have any kids in there. And it's sad. we need to celebrate that. So, by the way, our kids just got back from camp Friday, and Brandon and our volunteers took them down there. It was a great camp. How many got saved? 3 people got saved. You'll hear about some of them next week. One of them, I think I can talk about this. Teresa West has been coming to our church for a long time. Yeah, when I first started going to church way back in the day, her and her family, she was a little girl, and their family was there. So I've known her for a long, long time. But she comes to our church, and her son Noble is, how old is Noble? He's like 15, and but he got saved at camp. And and you just need to know, I don't know if he wants to tell his story or what, but like his dad died in this past year. Was it this year? I don't know. I'm getting old. Time just runs together. But his dad passed away, his biological father, and it crushed him. Like, you can just imagine. Like, some of you guys have experienced that. And so he's a 14-year-old boy trying to figure out life, and his dad dies. I think he got sick with cancer and died and had a long battle and then eventually died. And Noble's trying to figure out life, and he's trying to figure out why we got to take my dad. Like, what's going on with all of that? And look, I get it. And but we've been praying for him, and he went to camp, and finally on the last night surrendered his life to Jesus and got saved. And so pray for him, pray for all the kids. But yeah, it's this incredible time. So let's go on. Verse 4, it says, children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hand. How joyful is the man whose quiver is full of them. He will not be put to shame when he confronts his accusers at the city gates. So he says this. He says, children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hand. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, so kids are like arrows. So I brought my bow. I'm really itching. I can't wait for deer season. I'm just anyone else just like itching to go shoot something. I just want to shoot something. I don't even care what it is. So, but I love to bow hunt. And any bow hunters in here? So there's bow hunters in this room, and there's real men in this room, and then there's other people. I'm just saying, like, I'm just kidding. But like, I was thinking about this passage, and I'm not going to pull this. I'm not going to draw this back, even though I'm an expert marksman. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I haven't shot this bow probably since January, since deer season. And so if I had a target and at 30 yards or 40 yards, I probably wouldn't hit the bullseye the first time. You know, and so the way the Bible describes it is that my kids and your kids are arrows, and we're going to train these things, and we're going to send them out into the world. And it's dependent on how you live your life, which direction they're going to go. Does that make sense? So because I haven't practiced in several months, I'm not going to be very good with this. And if you haven't been living for Jesus as a parent, your kids are probably not going to be sent out into the world. They're probably not going to end up where you would hope that they would go. They're going to end up where you've been directing them. You know what I'm saying? They end up where you point them, not where you want them to end up. That's just the way that it is. And that's why it's sobering for me. It's like, man, I got to get it together. I got to make sure I'm following Jesus because I want my kids, because I got 5 of these. There's actually 6 on here. I have an announcement. My wife's pregnant. I'm joking. She would get... This passage says, children born to a young man. I'm not a young man. I'm more like Abraham. I'm closer to Abram. So, but these are your kids are an arrow, and I just want you to get that they're going to go in the direction that your life is pointing. So if your life isn't pointing in a direction that you're pleased with, good news, you get to change some things. You get to make some choices today that you go, you know what, I want to change some things about my life. Oh yeah, I made this just yesterday. I just went on the Google box and I went into AI. I think ChatGPT did this, and I just put my kid. You can make one of these. Just go. I just thought this was cool. I'm probably going to get this printed and put it on my wall at my house. But these are my 5 arrows right there. And so, yeah. So let's get into this. I got a few things that are just for dads. This is advice to dads. And this probably could be applicable to women too, to moms in the room too. but you had your day about a month ago, so Mother's Day. So now this is Father's Day. So number one, if you're taking notes, I got some advice for fathers. Number one is you need to know your role. Sometimes there's a phrase that somebody will do something and they'll say, so-and-so understood the assignment. And I was like, that's what God wants us to understand the assignment. God came up with the idea of a father and a mother. And I'm going to be honest with you, every child, I don't care who it is, every child on planet Earth, when they're born, they need a mom and they need a dad in their life. And when that's not the case, and I know that we have a lot of single moms, we have probably some single dads, things happen. Things don't always work out, whatever the case. I'm not trying to browbeat anybody, but when there's an absence of a father figure in the home, there's going to be problems. I'm just telling you, there's going to be problems. So you need to understand the role that God created a man and a woman, and he created men to be the fathers, and a woman, no matter how much she wants to be, cannot take the role of a father, and vice versa, no matter what you heard. Listen, Satan has done a good job. Satan is the author of confusion. And you can go on social media and scroll through and see. I was trying to find this picture. I was gonna put it up, and it's this picture of a female with a beard dating this guy. It's a guy dressed like a girl or whatever. It's just weird. Like he thinks he's a woman and she thinks she's a man. And I'm like, both of you guys are confused. And I'm not making fun of them. I'm saying it's sad. It makes me weep to think about people like that Satan has blinded them and convinced them that they're not created in the image of God. The greatest thing you can do is realize that God created you in his image, and if he made you a male, you should celebrate that. If he made you a female, you should celebrate that. And we both have distinct roles, and you can't blend the roles. You just can't. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, because I feel like, and I'm just getting old now, and I kind of see life. So sometimes I look at kids, and I'm like, you guys are just punk kids. You don't know nothing, and that's true. When I was 18, I didn't know nothing about life. I didn't. You couldn't tell me nothing. But I've lived some life, and now I try to live things and try to see things through the lens of the Bible, and I see things. So, I don't know, this is a weird analogy, but when I was in prison, I got saved in prison in 1997. But when I was in there, we played cards a lot. We played spades and hearts, and I don't know if you ever played spades, but I played so much that I started, like I could count the cards. You know what I mean? That may not make sense to all of you. But when we get to the very last round or whatever, and everyone had one card, I knew what card everyone had in their hand. I'm like, the very last one, I'm like, you got a jack of spades in your hand. I just learned to count that. You know what I'm talking about? Some of you guys get that, some of you guys don't. And the only reason I bring that up is because now I'm looking at the world and I see some things too. And I'm like, it's not that I'm smarter than anybody else. It's just I've been around the block and I'm like, oh, I see what's going on. When you got men wanting to be women and women wanting to be men and taking those different roles, I'm like, I see what's going on. That's Satan. Satan is the author of confusion, and he's trying to sow chaos even in the church. There's pastors getting up with rainbow flags on, talking about Gay Pride Month and all this stuff, and I'm like, what is going on? Well, now I know what's going on. Satan is behind all of that, and he's blinded people. And you know, we need to wake up. The church needs to wake up. So you need to know your role. There's moms and there's dads, and we need to celebrate that. Now I have this video that I want you to see. I don't know if it even fits with this point that I'm making, but I found this a while back. I was like, this is just funny. It's just a funny video. Let's watch this. I want you to play it one more time and watch the little boy's eyes, his expression. Now, the truth is that probably was AI generated, but it's also the truth that every man in here goes, yeah. Anyway, and I'm just going to move right on because, yeah. Number two, here's the second piece of advice I want to give to the fathers is you need to be prepared to sacrifice. If you're gonna bring a child into this world, you better be prepared to sacrifice. I talked to someone a while back. I think I told this story But I talked to this person a couple years ago, and I said, hey, when are you going to have kids? And she goes, I don't ever want to have kids. And I was like, really? Why not? And then she's like 28 at this time and just got married. And I go, you don't want to have kids? Why not? And she goes, because I'm selfish. And I was like, that's a good reason not to have kids. I can't tell you how many selfish people I know that are just popping out babies. And someone else is raising them. When the foster, you know what I'm talking, don't look at me like I'm the only one. I'm telling you, we have a whole bunch of kids that are being raised by other people because selfish parents are just like, I don't care what you say, I'm just going to have sex and pop out these kids. And no, we're creating a whole chaotic society by doing this stuff. You would be better off to just sit down and go, the Bible says this, and I'm going to follow the Bible. But we don't have that right now. And so there's a lot of selfish people which by the way, you mess up, I mean, you're like, oh, I'm pregnant, we're going to have a kid. Time to not be selfish anymore, okay? Time to put on your big boy pants. Time to put on your big girl pants, all right? It's time to raise this kid. It's like, hey, no more going to the clubs. No more hanging out with your boys and staying out playing poker all night or whatever you like to do. It's like, you got a child here. It's time to set your priorities. That's what kids need. I'll show you this. You've probably seen this. Go to the next slide. So I just put it into the Google box. I said, how much does it cost to raise a kid in America? And it says, I'll just read. It says the average cost of raising a child to age 18 in the U.S. is about $303,000. $300,000, about $16,857 per year for a middle-income married couple, all right? This figure accounts for the basic necessities like housing, food, clothing, but excludes college tuition. So this doesn't include college, depending on the location and lifestyle and cost of range, between $200,000 and $400,000. So to raise a kid, and look, everyone in here who's raising kids or has raised kids, you go, yeah, it's probably more than that. I don't know. It's like, where did I get all that money? And where did all that money go? But kids are expensive. Have you noticed that? Kids like to eat. You should try having 4 teenagers in your house like I do. They eat a lot. Like, I'm just telling you. Like, I'm about to kill a whole cow just for this month. Anyways, so here's what I was thinking. We're never going to do this in America, but just because, again, back to London, and you know, they just have a lot of rules over there. Most of your money, if you live in London, most of your money goes to the government. And when I say most, I'd say probably like 90% of what you make goes to the government. We were sitting around one of the days at Justin's house, and he goes, I want to watch some soccer. And I was like, what for? And he goes, but we watched a soccer game, and he was telling me, like, he doesn't have cable, so they have a TV. They went out and bought a TV, and they got some rabbit ears, right? And they put an antenna on that. They're just watching basic TV, free TV that streams. He goes, I had to buy a license from the government for $250 a year to watch free TV. And I'm like, this is why we did the Revolutionary War. This is why, grab your musket. I'm just telling you, like, that's crazy. But that's everything over there. But I think that we should do this. I'd be an advocate for this. You want to have a kid? You're a man and you want to have a son? Because let's be honest, there's no anyone can make a child. You know, just go out and get drunk or whatever you want to do. But it takes a real man to raise a kid. And so I think we should do this. This is just like if I was king of the United States, this is what I would do. I would say, if you want to have a child, or if you come in and you sit down, and I'm gonna interview you. And go, do you know it's going to take $300,000 to raise this kid? And I ask some questions for you. Let me interview you like a job applicant and see if you're ready to have a child, bring a child into this world. Like, are you ready to have sleep deprivation? You know what I mean? Like, are you ready for that? Are you ready to change diapers in the middle of the night? Are you ready to give all your extra money to your kids? Are you ready to sell your car and go buy a minivan? All these questions, like, are you ready for this? And if the answer is no to any one of them, it's like, no, you can't bring a kid into this world. Sorry. That's what I would do if I was king of the world, but I'm not that. So I'm just telling you, we need more people who are following the Bible and going, you know what, I'm trying the best I can to follow Jesus, because being a dad and a mom too, but it takes sacrifice. You have to set your needs aside. So I want to show you this video. I put together this clip from, this is from a movie called John Q. It's an amazing movie with Denzel Washington. I cut some of the cuss words out of it, but the scene is that his kid collapsed on the baseball field and his heart's going out and he needs a heart transplant. Just sad stuff. So let's watch this.
Without a new heart, he's not going to make it.
Okay. Take mine.
What?
You heard me. Take my heart and you put it in Mike.
You can't be serious.
You bet I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Man, that means you'll be dead.
And my son will live.
John, you can't do this.
It's the only way.
No, you don't understand. Physically, you can't do this.
Yes, I can. I kill myself. You open me up, you take my heart. It's perfect.
I know what's happening to Mike is bad, man. Matter of fact, it's the worst. Sometimes you just gotta let go and let God. Just accept it, brother.
Accept it. Accept what? Accept what?
That Mike is going to die.
No. No, I don't accept that. Ever.
See, to me, that's a father. You know what I mean? Like that father willing to give his heart so his son would. And I know that and I say most because I know some bad parents. I know some parents that are just selfish, and they don't really care a lot. But most parents that I know, most dads in this room have prayed this prayer: when your kid gets sick, God, I'd trade places with them in a second. God, let me take their sick. You watch your kid get sick and you don't know how bad it is, and it just breaks your heart. And you pray that prayer: God, I'll take that sickness from them. Let's look at this. I'm almost done. Matthew 5. I want you to turn to Matthew 5 and look at this for a minute. This is the story of Jairus. So Jairus has a daughter. She's about 12 years old, and she's sick. And Jairus is the leader of a synagogue, and he doesn't know what to do. He's, consulted all the doctors, and his last resort is maybe I'll find this Jesus guy that I've heard is healing people. Maybe he can help. So in verse 21, it says, Jesus got into the boat again and went back to the other side of the lake, where a large crowd gathered around him on the shore. Then the leader of the local synagogue, whose name was Jairus, arrived. When he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet, pleading fervently with him. My little daughter is dying, he said. Please come and lay your hands on her, heal her, so she can live. Jesus went with him, and all the people followed, crowding around him. And then, that story goes on, and when Jesus gets there, she was dead, and Jesus goes, don't worry, she's just sleeping. And they all laughed at him. And it's like, and he just rolled his eyes, and he was like, watch this. And he healed her, brought her back to life, and she was healed. And I just look at that again. That's the father. Like that father reminded me of John Q. Just, I will do whatever it takes so that my child will live. That's what we have to do. We have to sacrifice for our kids. Number 3, let me get just this last 3. Number 3 is be an example. Okay? You need to be an example. Similar to the arrows analogy I had, you need to follow Jesus as closely as possible, and your kids won't be too far behind. So be an example. Number 4 is get some godly male friends. And I don't mean your drinking buddies. I mean, get some guys. If you're trying to raise some kids, you're trying to raise your kids, I mean, get around some other guys at church that are also raising kids. And you know what? Regularly, we like to sit around here in the courtyard and in the back, sit around the campfire and, tell stories and fart and do all things that guys do, and we just have a great time. Sometimes we camp out back there. There's just something great about sitting around a campfire with a bunch of guys, right? But we're not just a random group of guys. We have something in common. We're all trying to follow Jesus, and we're all struggling. We're all trying to do the best we can, but you need that. Every guy needs that, I believe. Here's the last thing. Number 5 is get some accountability. There's lots more stuff I could say to you. But one thing that every guy in this room needs is accountability. You need to be with other men that will ask you hard questions so that we don't get too far off track. So every guy, there's a learning curve. And, like I said, we're trying to do the best we can. Let me just end with this. So in my life, you can ask, I got 2 kids right here. 2 of my boys are right here. I'm not a perfect dad by far. I try the best I can to live for Jesus. But I've resigned the fact of that who my identity is I'm Jackson's dad. That's who I am. When I go to his ball games, they're like, who's that? That's Jackson's dad. And I'm like, I have a name. You know what I mean? Like, it used to bother me when Josiah, when he was growing up, when he was little league or whatever, like, who's that? That's Josiah's dad, and that's Josiah's mom. And you know what? I'm okay just being Jackson's dad and Josiah's dad. You know what I mean? Like, that's good enough for me. So let's bow our heads and let's close our eyes. And I want, you're in this room, man. You're raising kids, you're a dad, you're a mom. I don't want to beat you down. I don't want you to feel super bad about the mistakes that you've made. But you know what? We got today, and we can turn things around. And I know there's some things, I want to be a better dad than what I have been. And so I'm praying that God would give me the grace to be a better dad, to be a better husband, and I want that for you too. God is in the miracle working business, and he's in the second chance business. And so you're here, and maybe your kids are grown. You could still pray for them. You could still pray that God gets a hold of their heart. And so I just want you to, let's do this. Let's all stand to our feet with our heads bowed. And we're not going to take a long time with this, but maybe you want to come down to the altar, and maybe there's something on your heart. The guys are going to play some music in a minute, and just to kind of soften the mood. But, listen, I think God wants to do business with some people, and I think there might be something heavy on your heart. Heads bowed, eyes closed, and nobody looking around. Let me go back and ask you about the missions thing. Have you ever prayed about that? Have you ever sincerely told God, I will go wherever you want me to go. I'll do whatever you want me to do, if that's what you want me to do. If you want me to stay and pray for the missionaries and give to missions, I'll do that. If you want me to go, if you want me to go on a missions trip, a short-term missions trip, I'll do that. I just want everyone in this room to be willing to do what God is calling you to do. And so hopefully your heart is tender about that. Join me in praying for these missionaries and giving to these missionaries. Listen, I tell you guys all the time, I get calls every month from missionaries go, hey, I'm taking my family. We're going to South Africa. We're going to Botswana. We're going to some place around the world. And I'm like, I'm glad you called, but unfortunately at this time we can't have any more missionaries and we can't afford to take on any more. And I want to get to a point where we could just say yes to everyone that calls. And I think that God can do that, but that's going to require sacrifice out of all of us. And thinking of sacrifice, that's what a parent is. Parents sacrifice for our kids. So right now, right where you're at, I want you to pray for your kids. Name them by name. Say their names and say, God, I just pray that your grace would cover them. Pray that your grace would fill in the gaps of where I made mistakes. I haven't always done things right, being a parent. But just pray for them. Lift them up to the Lord. And if you're here in this room or you're watching online and you don't have a relationship with Jesus, you've never given your life to Jesus, I want to encourage you to come down and talk to one. If we're watching online, send me a message. I would love to have a conversation with you. If you're in this room, we have some people down front that can talk with you, or you can come find me after the service. I'd love to sit down and go over that with you, what it looks like to follow Jesus. Because the best thing you can do to be a parent is to follow Jesus. All right? So let's pray together. God, I want to thank you for being our perfect Heavenly Father, God. You never blow your temper with us, even though we mess up time and time again. You're so patient with us and you're so loving towards us. And we're so grateful that you continually use us even when we get it wrong. And so I pray for every dad that's in this room, God, help today be a good, encouraging day for them. Help them to enjoy this day. And for every parent in here, help us all to be able to do the best we can to raise our kids, and the rest we just commit to you. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.